It's a mixed bag of good news and bad for online Christian content creators. We have the story from Baptist News Global, Jeff Brumley writing. Online religion content isn't luring millennials away from in-person church. Well, there's good news for all you pastors who've been uploading your sermons since 2020. You're not taking away from those who are attending church, so that's good information to know. Put that in your back pocket. The story goes, faith leaders needn't worry too much that the growing availability of online religious content and activities will lure millennials away from houses of worship, a recent study suggests. On the contrary, faith content and activities available virtually are in some cases enhancing the in-person religious experience for participating Americans and Canadians ages 18 to 35. Scholar Sarah Wilkins LaFlame said in Digital Religion Among U.S. and Canadian Millennial Adults, a paper published last year in the Review of Religion Research. And for all of you who are in Generation Z watching this now, you'll be happy to know they're classifying you as millennials. Great news for you, aren't you thrilled? I'm sure you're thrilled to hear that. Actually, millennials would be 26 to 41, but whatever, they're calling that young adults. I, at the ripe old age of 45, am no longer considered a young adult, which that I'm fine with. Quote, we know that more and more people are turning toward digital mediums for spirituality, such as chat groups with pastors, online sermons, and religious content on social media, said Wilkins LaFlame, a sociologist at the University of Waterloo in Ontario. We have found that while digital religion isn't necessarily attracting a lot of new millennials to participate, it is making the experience of those already involved richer. That's a mixed bag. So what it's basically saying is you can produce all the content you want. You're not really moving the needle as far as attracting new millennials to participate in religious faith. Okay, fair enough. But the trend does not represent most millennials, she added. It is still present, though, for a sizable minority of young adult population, and for many of them, digital religion plays an important complementary role to the in-person practicing of their religious faith. So, again, not really moving the needle to reach new people, and most millennials are completely indifferent to content like the content I create for my own channel, per se. But for those who are interested that do attend worship, it's good to know that Trinity Radio and Mike Winger and Adam Coleman and Mr. Phil Fox and Capturing Christianity and Inspiring Flight. It's good to know that we're not taking anything away from church. In fact, later on in the story, it says there are only 5% of young adult respondents who only do monthly or more frequent religious or spiritual digital content consumption without also attending religious services at least once a month or practicing an unchurched spirituality at least once a month, Wilkins LaFlame said. She goes on, another 11% do both monthly or more frequent digital content consumption and religious service attendance. 6% do both monthly or more frequent digital content consumption and unchurched spiritual activities. And another 10% do all three types of activities at least once a month. End quote. As a whole, 25% of millennial respondents in the United States and Canada said they participate in less conventional religious practices at least monthly, with 11% including a digital component. End quote. So, not a whole lot there, but I mean, 10% and 20% of any age group demographic in the United States and Canada is a whole lot of people still actively involved in this. And of course, you see that content creators, some of the larger channels are attracting a lot of eyeballs. It's just not a really large pool of young adults that are interested in any of the type of stuff that we're putting out. But it's good to know that we're not taking away from the religious activity of church services. Like only 5% of the people that are interested in any of this at all are not active. But that makes sense, because if you think about it, if you're anything like my experience, and granted that's anecdotal, but there are more people that I can engage with online who are interested in theology and biblical studies and apologetics than there are people at my church who are interested in exploring those things more deeply. Now, of course, all Christians are responsible for evangelism. They should all be theologically informed with the essential doctrines of the faith. They should all be aware of apologetics and have at least a basic understanding of how to defend their faith. But they're not all like what we would call geeks, right? And even I myself, I don't sit around and consume a lot of Christian content on the internet. I watch mostly fitness channels and news channels and homesteading channels. So, I mean, I'm not better than most, people or as far as consuming large amounts of Christian content online. But I'm just saying, those who are interested in the type of stuff like Trinity Radio puts out, they're going to find their content online. There's always going to be someone creating content for them. They're going to find the people that have similar interests in different Facebook groups. Just like if you're a Marvel fan or if you're a sports fan and you like SEC football like I do, you're going to find content creators catering to that. And you're going to find Facebook groups that are dedicated to college football, or specifically Southeastern Conference football, which is really the only good kind of college football that exists. But you get what I'm saying. You can always find your people online more so than you might in your community, as we live our lives more and more digitally anyway. But again, most millennials not interested in any of this kind of stuff. But what I do find interesting is like one aspect of this is that Protestants, evangelical Protestants, are actually more inclined to watch this kind of content than Catholics. Quote, evangelical Protestants are 9 percentage points more likely than Catholics to consume digital content on religion or spirituality at least once a month, but no more likely than Catholics to post on social media about religion or spirituality monthly or more frequently, she found. By contrast, mainline Protestants are 14 percentage points less likely than Catholics to post on social media about religion or spirituality. It's because most mainline Protestants are now liberal and they don't really care about any of this Christian stuff anyway. But no less likely than Catholics to consume digital content on religion or spirituality monthly or more frequently. Presence at in-person religious services was found to influence participation in online faith activities. Like I said, if you're interested enough in this, except for that 5%, but if you're the type of person interested in theological or biblical studies or apologetic content, you're going to be an active member of your church. Those are your super Christians, so to speak. They're not only active in their church, but they're also active in online communities and finding Christian content to occupy their time. And again, that's not just talking about YouTube channels like in my little world, but it's just talking about in general. Like if they want to find a John MacArthur sermon or something like that, do better than that. But that's the kind of thing that they're talking about: online sermons or ministry leaders or people who are saying, producing spiritual type content. They're going to find some of that. Those are going to be your super Christians. But also channels like Trinity Radio, or if you were to ask Capturing Christianity or Inspiring Philosophy or Adam Coleman or some of these other Christian apologetics channels, what's interesting is not only are our channels for those who are practicing Christians having their spiritual lives in religious lives enriched by the content we're producing, we have a lot of non-Christians that engage our content. Sure, a lot of them are drive-by posting. They want to call us stupid. They want to say our arguments are bad. They want to talk about how unconvinced they are. They want to make fun of us in the comments. And yeah, that's par for the course. That's part of the package when you get involved in Christian content creation. But they are engaging with it. So even though it's not that big of a slice of the millennial pie or the young adult pie, however we're calling the 18 to 35-year-olds, yeah, there's a small set of people that are going to be interested in any of this. But that's going to be both religious and non-religious people. And we have a lot of non-religious people and atheists engaging with our content. And we all have our anecdotal stories of people coming to faith through our channels or having renewed their faith, so to speak, because of the content that channels like Trinity Radio and others are, because of our content. So there is good news there. And it's good to know that we are functioning as an assist to the churches when their church lives are fulfilling that aspect of it. If they want to go deeper and they want to find content that's, scratches that itch of knowing more, hopefully they find it in an engaging or entertaining kind of way, kind of infotainment, so to speak. I'm glad that we are providing that. And I'm also glad that non-religious people are coming to challenge us, because it's endless stream of inspiration for us to continue to produce content, but we are in fact engaging non-religious people at some level, because even if you're not a practicing religious adherent, religion is still part of the lives of the non-religious people who interact with the kind of content that we create. So, we're going to keep doing it. The question, I think, for Christian content creators is this, though. We're not really moving the needle broadly for young adults. Most young adults are not interested in watching the kind of content we create. Obviously, the research supports that. So we need to ask ourselves, we're competing with people who are talking about sports, and we're competing with people who are talking about fitness, and we're competing with people who are talking about homesteading. We're competing with people who are talking about pop culture and all of that. What kind of content do we need to do to get a bigger slice of the content creation overall, bigger slice of that pie? Because there's already a very small minority of people that are interested in this kind of content, engaging with it, obviously. And of course, we are all, I don't like to say competing, but we're all, in a sense, competing for people's time and their eyeballs to view all of our content, right? And it's already a small pool. And of course, there are channels that are smaller than ours, and there are channels that are bigger than ours. And even the biggest ones don't have lots and lots of people compared to other types of areas of interest. So what are we doing to expand our reach? How do we get more people to be interested in this kind of thing? That's a question that we need to face, just like churches. They're always saying, how do we do more outreach? How do we reach more people? Usually wrapped up in how do we reach more young people? Maybe you don't. Maybe you stop trying to reach young people. Maybe I do listen to my kids that even though they watch YouTube and have Facebook accounts, it's really for old people, and they just have it because dad's on there and they want to laugh at my dad jokes that I post. I don't know what it is, but there are literally billions of people using YouTube. And so there's a lot of people out there. And if the goal is to just provide Christian content for theologically interested and apologetic interested Christians out there, that's a perfectly fine thing to do. There's no problem with that. You should have that because it is making an impact on their spiritual lives, and that's good. And if that's all that you do, that's still a good thing. But if the goal is also to reach more people and to win the lost to Christ, which should be the goal of all of ours, we should be doing more evangelism. But how do you engage in evangelism that actually puts your evangelistic content in front of more people? What are we doing or not doing that is keeping this a very small pool and basically all vying for the same amount of eyeballs that are going to be interested in any of this? How do we expand that pool for all of us? And mainly for Jesus, so that we can reach the lost. Because if we're going to be producing this kind of content and dedicating any portion of time to it, it needs to be fruitful. So how can we increase that footprint? How can we be more fruitful? Those are things that we need to ask ourselves, because again, not a lot of people are interested in this anyway, but the same questions that churches grapple with: how do we reach more people? How do we impact more people? How do we win lost souls to Christ? Christian content creators need to be asking ourselves the same question, or otherwise infotainment just becomes entertainment and we're just doing it for our own sake. And I don't know that, like I said, there's nothing wrong with that if you're trying to help augment people's church lives. That's fine. But there's a lot of people producing content for the same people. The same sets of people that watch our channel may watch other channels. And yeah, there's some people who watch ours that don't watch others, and don't watch ours but do watch others. But still, it's a very small pool. So we need to make that pool larger. We need to get more people involved into religious conversations. So that's something for us as content creators to think about. And it's something for all of you who are consumers of this content. What are we not doing? We want to hear from you. Put it in the comments. Whether you're Christian or not a Christian, because obviously all of you atheists love this channel because we're the channel that loves atheists. So put it in the comments, what do you want to see more of that we don't do? Right? Because apparently all that we're doing is entertaining a very, very small sliver of millennials. So, and then of course this kind of data doesn't track outside of millennials, but still, if our goal is we want to not just grow our channels for our own egos, but we really do want to reach the lost. We really do want to get, even if you're not interested in ever becoming a Christian, if you're a non-Christian and you're watching this channel, you're obviously interested in the discussion about religion. So how do we get more people, even that are like you, interested in these kind of bigger worldview discussions? Leave it in the comments. Let us know. And I appreciate you watching this video. We will see you in the next one. God bless.